a lot of secretaries of defense in this country, and lots of those defense secretaries have had lots of scandals over the years. You know, we've had good defense secretaries, we've had bad ones, we've had some real bad ones. But you know, there's always room for something new under the sun. For all the things that defense secretaries in the United States have ever done wrong, I'm not sure we've ever had a Secretary of Defense rope his spouse into a sensitive national security conversations. I feel like of all the things we've seen at the Pentagon, this might count as a new problem. The Wall Street Journal reported last month that Trump's Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, quote, brought his wife, a former Fox News producer, to 2 meetings with foreign military counterparts where sensitive information was discussed, including the Ukraine Defense Contact Group at Maddow and one very delicate meeting with the British Defense Secretary. Why did he need to bring his wife to those meetings? Don't know. But now there is new reporting in the New York Times that Secretary Hegseth also allegedly shared detailed information about forthcoming military strikes with his wife on a group chat on the messaging app Signal. 2 sources have now confirmed that for NBC News, and yes, this is the second Signal group chat we know of featuring sensitive military information that Pete Hegseth has been involved in. The first one, Hegseth was included on after it was started by Trump National Security Advisor Michael Waltz. You might remember he inexplicably also included a reporter in that chat. This second one was reportedly started by Hegseth himself and included a whole bunch of people who would not seem to have any clearance, let alone any need to know about the details of an imminent military strike. Sources telling the Times that what Hegseth shared with his wife in this second group chat was essentially the same attack plans that were shared in the first Signal chat on the same day, including precise flight schedules for U.S. Air Force jets that were about to launch a strike in Yemen. Again, Secretary Hegseth's wife is a former Fox News producer who does not work for the Defense Department or any other part of the U.S. government, which is fine. Nothing against Mrs. Hegseth here. I'm sure she's great. But one does struggle to imagine a compelling reason why she, as the Defense Secretary's wife, would need to know the specific timing of U.S. bombings in Yemen that were about to start. And obviously, there's the question of why sensitive information about military attack plans would be shared with anybody, by anybody, on a group chat on a commercial non-government messaging app. In response to this latest reporting, a Pentagon spokesman didn't deny the existence of Hegseth's second Signal chat with his wife and others. The spokesperson claimed only that there was no classified information on any Signal chat. Okay. Like I said, we've had good defense secretaries and bad ones, but I'm not sure we've ever had one pile up the headlines quite like this guy. There really does appear to be expanding chaos at Pete Hegseth's Pentagon. His chief of staff is leaving his post. 3 other top officials were fired on Friday, though the 3 men then said in an unusual joint statement that they have no idea why they were fired. The Pentagon's former top spokesman resigned last week. He published an opinion piece this weekend in which he said, quote, the last month has been a full-blown meltdown at the Pentagon. It is becoming a real problem for the administration. Today, the Trump administration is denying reporting from NPR that the White House has begun the process of looking for a new defense secretary to replace the embattled Pete Hegseth. Mr. Hegseth was confirmed to his post by the narrowest Senate vote of any defense secretary ever. He has since spent his time in office seeming to prove his most trenchant critics correct. Joining us now is Senator Mark Warner of Virginia. He is the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee. He wrote this today, quote, he said, Secretary of Defense is too critical of a role to be done by someone this incompetent. It is past time for Hegseth to resign or be fired. Senator Warner, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Rachel.
Is this a cumulative effect in terms of Mr. Hegseth's tenure in office that led to you today calling for his resignation, or is it something specific about these latest revelations?
Well, Rachel, you didn't even give the full story on this latest revelation. It was not only his wife, but his brother, who's been put in a cushy job at the Pentagon, his personal lawyer, who's been put in. This is a reflection of the kind of nepotism that spreads all across this Trump administration. We've had 2 reports now, Anybody who follows the intelligence community or the defense community would know if a normal military officer or CIA officer had let this information out while our jets were flying to hit the Houthis, they would be fired immediately. And what I'd like Pete Hegseth to do is I want him to go down to Naval Station Norfolk, which is the home port of the aircraft carrier Truman. The Truman is the aircraft carrier in the Eastern Med where these jets were launched from. And I want him to talk to the men and women who know people on the Truman and explain that this was not classified, that if this information had gotten out, they know their loved ones would have been potentially taken down by the Houthis' defense. The arrogance of this crowd and the incompetence is breathtaking, and it is costing not only morale in the DOD, morale in the intelligence community, and making all our friends and allies across the world say, man, we can't trust this crowd with any kind of classified information.
We are also now seeing officials who are close to Mr. Hegseth, people who are operating in political appointed positions at the top echelons of the Pentagon, who are all now being sort of flung out. Do you have any insight into what's going on at the top ranks there? By my count, at least 5 top officials have resigned or been transferred or been fired just in the last few days with very little explanation as to why. And some of those people who have been fired or removed saying they themselves don't know why they've been taken out.
I think some of the folks were probably actually competent, but this guy is so far beyond his skis, so far beyond the ability to manage, frankly, what's the biggest operation in our whole government. It's we all who opposed him knew this was coming. We shouldn't be surprised, but when you put somebody of this incompetence at this level, and then his careless treatment of classified information. And again, going back to this most recent exposure on the Signal chat, the fact that he's got not just his wife, but a brother and his personal lawyer, that is not the way the Defense Department operates. This is beyond the pale. And what I worry about is how many other good people that serve to keep our nation safe are going to say, we can't follow this guy. So I do hope that he would, I don't expect the honorable thing, he would quit. And I'm not sure that Mr. Trump will ever hold anybody accountable. But what's remarkable as well, Rachel, is we don't know, have any of these folks who are on this chat, have any of them had their phones checked for malware put on? The bad guys, if they follow one of these conversations, can put malware on your phone without holding your phone. This is basic cybersecurity and Intel 101, and these folks have got no notion or any kind of understanding of how important this information is.
You know, Senator Warner, the first revelation about the first Signal group chat about those war plans, I think shocked people, legitimately, even people who didn't have high expectations for the competence of this administration. It resonated deeply with the public. We know that in part from public polling on the subject, where people overwhelmingly said that people should have been fired over that, and they thought that it was overwhelmingly very serious, despite the fact that we had the White House and the Hegseth crowd sort of pushing back and saying it was no big deal. Now that there has been a second revelation of yet another instance like this, I wonder if we're approaching a point where some of your Republican colleagues in the Senate might join with you in a bipartisan way, might approach the White House, might say, listen, this was a narrow confirmation. A lot of us had doubts about him. Our doubts are being proven correct. This is the guy you need to move out of here.
Rachel, you got it. I mean, we've always felt the Intelligence Committee, the Armed Services Committee, we've always been prided ourselves on being bipartisan. Will any of my Republican friends find their voice and say, this is a bridge too far? When we are deteriorating, putting our armed forces in harm's way potentially, when we're pissing off all our allies, when we're undermining the confidence of the men and women who serve in our armed forces or in the intelligence community, what will be finally the breaking point? I hope and pray this is it, because we are making our country less safe every day this guy stays in that office.
Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee. Sir, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy man right now, and I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, we got much more news ahead here tonight. Stay with us. Busy night.